man. Look at that. Look at that big fucking hand. I can get some big old black balls in this hand. Oh, man. That's making me slightly disgusted. You're just insecure. You're an insecure man. I mean, why won't you let me fulfill my fantasy?
We are living in a time of over-the-top, rageful homosexuality. We're living in a time where we have more gay characters than we have straight. We have characters that have always been gay, that people for some reason in their mind's eye have blocked the fact that they're all homosexual. We have drag queens. We have craziness going on constantly. We're living in a time where people go to prison and they get molested and they wind up having to fight every day. Or they have to engage in lifestyles that are otherwise ridiculous and disgusting. To sit around and joke about another group of men's genitals, because we are the only true men that have actual genitals. We're the only true men that are actually men. We've been heavily fetishized by not just any group, but by this specific group, the group of the Gentiles. And make no mistake, this man on the screen right now is, in fact, a Gentile. Every time he introduces himself to his audience, he refers to himself as a gentleman, or his other people as gentlemen.
Massage your balls. I bet Eve had balls. I bet. Duh.
One of the ways you can easily tell that these people are Gentiles is they get this ridiculous conjecture whenever they read the Book of Remembrance. These heathens, when they read the Bible, they get this insane notion that all the male characters are female and all the female characters are male. They do this thing, it's called natural flip-flopping. It's absolute fucking chaos. These people worship the JC character. They are natural homosexuals. They constantly live in filth, disgustingness. This particular guy in particular, he's so nasty. If you watch his live streams, which go on for like 2 to 3 hours, he has little gnats and bugs flying around, constantly attacking him because he's so filthy. These people are consumers of, large quantities of probably uncooked red meat, and their bodies are literally being destroyed by actual parasites. These are filthy, disgusting Gentiles, and they will do everything in their power to deceive you, to make you believe that they don't hate you, that they're your friend that loves to just come up behind you and punch you in the head and say overtly evil things to you, when in reality, I believe it's a cry for help. I believe this entity in particular is crying out for someone to just reach out and delete him.
Instead of standing with his creator, he didn't want to see his rib walk away. He didn't want that spare rib to be injected with a whole bunch of hate venom and imbued with pain from childbirth. He wanted to be there. Hold her hand. Massage her balls. I bet Eve had balls. I bet. Duh. Okay.
It reveals a lot about someone's mindset, that they're saying to you, literally saying to you, that Adam was a man in the Garden of Eden. Eve was also a man, and I guess the serpent was a man also. And these were 3 men that had sex with each other and somehow produced children. This reveals a great deal about how out of touch with reality and how in line with just pure evil that this motherfucker is. And I think that people need to pay attention to it. I don't think that anybody has ever gone out of their way to point out the fact that this particular guy is a walking, talking piece of shit. But I think that it's time that it's been done, because this is a man who is obsessed with male synchronized dancing. He's obsessed with, I believe, homosexuality. He has made several videos where he's denouncing trans people, but at the same time, in his own hand, he talks about fondling black men's genitals, as well as he believes that Eve was somehow a man. This is a sick individual, and I'm not just talking about mentally sick. I'm talking about physically. Like, this is a putrid, disgusting psychopath that has actively shaved his head. And you'll see in several of his videos, if you choose to look, that he references the Book of Remembrance. But in the Book of Remembrance, it states very clearly, a man is not to mar the corners of his head or his beard. If you look at him, I can take a good look. His beard has been marred as well as his head, which means he doesn't know what the hell he's even talking about. And the Book of Remembrance also talks about how the Gentiles will not be able to truly interpret what's true and what's false in the Book of Remembrance. They're always given away to folly. They're always given away to dancing like idiots and psychopaths. If you pay close attention to a Gentile, each and every one of them is obsessed with dancing. Dancing has always been the pretext to body language. It's to show off your hips, pelvic thrusts. It's basically sexual enticement. A big, large, disgusting, rageful sodomite, like the one on screen here, showing himself dancing shoulder to shoulder in unison with little animated versions of himself. I think that says more than any word ever could. And you've been conditioned to not truly think about it. The same way a lot of people see Batman and they think he's masculine and strong, when really he's just a giant drag queen running around crazy. People don't question what it is they're being shown. People have been taught to think that things that are homosexual are actually not, and to not truly see things as they are. Dancing has always been body language. The whole purpose of dancing, the hip thrusts, the motions, the steps back and forth, is to get your attention and to draw the eyes and to draw attention to very specific points on the body. This has always been the case. To sit up and say that that's not the case is not only disingenuous, but it's self-deception, and it's showing a lack of wisdom. People generally do lack wisdom nowadays, especially with the earth being given over to the hands of the wicked, the hands of the sodomites, the Edomites, the lunatics, the putrid, pubescent psychopaths of society that have done nothing but run the earth into the ground with their lustful, disgusting behavior. This particular guy, he has gone out of his way to glorify comic books. Comic books like Batman. I believe he even has a comic book called Godlike. You'll notice that each of the characters that is drawn and depicted is ultimately depicted in a sexualized, homosexual way. And I believe it's because of their natural disdain for their own reality, their natural disdain for truth. They cannot get over the fact that they're all a bunch of psychopathic homosexuals. And they want you to be one just like them.
I'll never stop talking about it. I'll never stop making videos about it. I'll never stop trying to get men to see that there is something beyond a pussy hole. Why can't I get me some lovin'?
You'll notice that the heathens always have a savior complex. They always believe that a single man or a single woman or a team of people or fucking entities can save the entire earth. That they can come together and have some type of superhero moment where they rescue the world from a great darkness. I believe this is why they are all also obsessed with the JC character. Another homosexual character that, goes around wearing a diaper. He gets beaten up, possibly molested by his captors, the Roman Edomites, who are known homosexuals. They BDSM him, and then they torture him. They make him carry his cross. They make him go through horrific embarrassment. They make him be a very publicized abuse. They make him go through this. And then they make the loser die. And then somehow come back from death. And then somehow save everybody. But they just can't ever seem to ever get to that part, in reality. Because that shit's nonsense. And that's the whole concept of the whole savior mindset of the Edomite. They will go to great lengths to do anything other than worship the Most High, because they hate the Most High. They hate truth. They hate righteousness. And they hate us as the so-called black men. But the interesting thing is, I, believe it or not, don't have a problem with referring to them as white, as long as you spell it the right way. And that's not W-H-I-T-E. That's completely incorrect. If you want to spell them as white, it's W-I-G-H-T, white. Look up the definition of that. I believe that's a very accurate depiction of what they truly are. They are evil incarnate. They are the sin of the earth. They are putrid, disgusting entities worthy of deletion. They've gone to great lengths to influence the minds of the people who are unfortunate enough to, be under their reign of terror. But I believe that the time of the Gentile is coming to an end. Specifically, if you pay attention to this guy, he has a deep fascination, like most of them, with slapping. Men slapping one another, men going out of their way to have unnecessary physical contact with each other, to assert dominance over each other. This is another form of rageful, lustful, lewd homosexual behavior. Specifically, if you pay attention to the character of Batman, a wealthy billionaire has no need to fucking physically attack anyone. He can call in a goddamn drone strike. But rather than do that, he would rather beat up a city full of morons, a city full of, the mentally infirm retards, as well as poor people, people who, have committed themselves to a life of crime. That's the MO of the Edomite. Everything is contextual as long as it's within the arc of their scope, when in reality, the great evil and harm is from them specifically. They go out of their way to say, oh, I never owned a slave. How many of you were slaves? When in reality, all it takes is one true look to see that they benefit from the sins of their fathers. The Most High himself says that the children will pay for the sins of their fathers, the sins of their mothers. The parents, they may have created a great atrocity, but the children, the different generations will pay. So you should view me as a battle axe. And I encourage my enemies to view me as this. One day I will be lifted up and I will come down hard. And there will be no conversation, because conversation is overrated. Debates, this whole concept of, oh, let me debate my enemy. Let me have a conversation with somebody who I want to kill or somebody who wants to kill me. This is insanity. Within the last 100 years, and I'm talking about well within it, they were literally dragging so-called black men behind pickup trucks to death. The logic they'll say is, well, I never did that. Or they'll say, I never knew anyone that did that. But are they benefiting from the evil that was done? Because I believe, as well as the Most High, I believe he believes it as well, that the sons and daughters of those who have benefited from evil have to pay. They all have to be ripped apart. And that's the fucking truth. That's reality. Mercy, there is no such thing as mercy. The same way there should be no such thing as jail. The Book of Remembrance says, if your child will not obey you, you tell them twice. You take them before the elders. They still won't obey you, then you have to kill them. And that is what it is. And that's with your own children. This whole dealing righteously with your enemies, there will be no fucking dealings. We don't have anything to talk about. It's them or us. Period. End of story.
Grab it good, Hammer. Grab it good. Oh, man. Look at that. Look at that big fucking hand. I can get some big old black balls in this hand. Oh, man. There's a lot of folks out there that want to not understand that we still live in a very tribalistic world, you know? And then they get really uncomfortable and nervous and fidgety when you start talking about white problems. Gentlemen, I think I've run my flapper long enough. You see, this isn't just an opportunity to bring people to the auditorium, right? To have everybody come to Black Jesus so Black Jesus can preach it to them. That's not what this is about. It's also about training future manipulators.